With his analysis of the situation in Syria, Ivan Eland, Senior Fellow and Director of the Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute. He joins us now in our Washington studio. Thanks so much for joining us, Ivan.
Thanks.
So what do these latest revelations of chemical weapon use mean in terms of the ongoing conflict in Syria?
Well, I think there's been chemical weapons used several times before, and this is just on a bigger scale. And I think we have to keep in mind that this is sort of overblown by the press. Certainly, it's very horrible that the people die in this way, but we've had casualties of over 100,000 in the Civil War, and this is maximum hundreds or thousands, and it's never good for people to be killed. But conventional weapons usually kill a lot more people in war than chemical weapons do.
The Syrian government is denying any possibility of chemical attack. Do you find it hard to believe?
Well, they do have the capability to do it on a grander scale than the opposition, but it's quite curious that they would do it when the UN inspectors that they've let into the country to look at the other chemical weapons incidents. Of course, there's going to be overwhelming pressure to let them look at this incident. And it's not out of the realm of possibility, though, of course, in war that you can have something trumped up by the other side to look like you did it. So, you know, who knows who did it, but it's probably the regime, but it may not necessarily be coming from the top. It could be a rogue unit or something. We don't really know. But I think the real question here is, should this bring more pronounced intervention, say, from the United States? Barack Obama a year ago said there's a red line, but I think he probably shouldn't have said that, because really the line's a lot more fuzzy as to whether you should intervene on something like this. I mean, we're not talking about a massive casualty incident, even in this case. And I think that the other question is, well, what do? You can do a no-fly zone, which knocks out the parts of or the whole Syrian Air Force, but they could still use rockets.
Well, let me ask
to deliver this stuff.
Do you think there will be a U.S.-led military intervention in Syria?
Well, I think it's a little bit closer now, because I think Obama is still reluctant, and justifiably so. But I think that when the Syrian regime, if they have done this, then of course, Obama is sort of like JFK in the Cuban Missile Crisis. If he hadn't made this speech saying, you know, this is a grave, these missiles in Cuba are a grave threat to U.S. security, he wouldn't have had to do much. And the same thing with the Red Line speech with Obama. Now that he's made that comment, I think he's going to have to do something more, because he didn't do much the first time that the chemical weapons were discovered. He just gave a little bit of military aid to the rebels. But I really think it's questionable. We don't know who these rebels are, and we know that some of them are very bad, and they're probably worse than the regime. So, and arms, when put into a conflict, always go to the most ruthless people, even if you don't intend them to. That's what happened when we gave, here in the United States, we gave arms to the Mujahideen in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets, and it eventually turned into al-Qaeda. So I think we have to be very careful. We can certainly protest this and you know, react in other ways, but I think wholesale intervention may be counterproductive, even if this is a chemical attack by the regime.
All right, Ivan Eland, Senior Fellow and Director of the Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute. We thank you.
Thank you.